All right, guys, for those of you who are having problems balancing out your Steadicams, Glidecams, Flycams, whatever cams, I'm going to try to show you how I do it. Now, the reason why I never posted a tutorial before is because it's kind of lengthy to show you how it's done. I may not even be doing it the conventional way, and there's already like 100 different ways to do it on YouTube or Vimeo. They show you, I mean, these are real pros teaching you guys how to balance these things, and you should really be referencing that. The Flycam Nano here is exactly the same as balancing the Glidecam, whether it be the 1000, 2000, 4000, all the HD models, even the Steadicam Merlin. They all use the same principle on how you balance the camera on the top and how many weights you put on the bottom. That's pretty much it. So anyways, if you guys don't want to reference that, I'm going to try and show you guys how I do it personally, and hopefully it makes sense. So the first thing you do is you put your camera up on the stage of your Steadicam, or excuse me, Flycam. So you put it up on the stage. Now for DSLRs, most of the weight is always on the left side because you have the hand grip on the right. And then it's usually front heavy because the lenses are usually bigger than the camera bodies. So that's going to give you an idea of where to position it on the stage. You want the center balance of the camera to kind of match the center post here. So for the 7D and the Tokina 1116, I'm using the left rear hole on the stage, and I'll figure out the rest later, but that'll get you close. One of the most important things that you got to do is lock the top post halfway down the bottom post. The reason why you want to do it halfway down is after you add the amount of weights that you need, you want some lateral to move the sled higher and lower to change the weight ratio without adding or dropping weights. Just by moving the sled up and down, that's going to change the weight ratio. Now it's really important that you know this, because this is how you fine-tune your stabilizer. This is how you finalize the balance of your stabilizer. Anyway, so here you go. I have the post locked in halfway. I've added a certain amount of weights. Now I have 6 up front and 6 in the rear. That's kind of just a general idea, but we will show you that it is extremely top heavy. You see how the camera just wants to drop to the floor there. It's extremely top heavy. So again, without having to add more weights to the system, if I'm adding more weights to the sled, I'm just making the overall unit heavier on my hands. So without adding more weights, I have some lateral here to move the sled lower. Moving the sled lower is going to make it more bottom heavy. So let's see, I just moved it down, the sled lower a little bit. There you go, it's starting to drop down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this at rest, and this is kind of where you want to be at, because it is bottom heavy. It is slightly bottom heavy because this weight is, you know, obviously more at an angle than the top stage here. What we want to do is we want to get this way. So I know it's bottom heavy, slightly bottom heavy, so I'm going to start to move this camera forward a little bit and shift some of that weight forward. There you go, it's getting closer, so I'm just going to move it forward a little bit more. There you go, not too bad. Actually, that was pretty easy. And I actually had 7 weights up front, 7 in the rear. The first time I balanced this time I have 6 up front, 6 in the rear. So as you can tell, a lot of this makes a difference here. Moving this slightly higher, slightly lower, is going to make a huge difference in balancing your stabilizer. Let's see here. So one thing that you're going to want to know is, as you're walking with your stabilizer, if it starts to kind of do this thing right here, I don't know if you can see this, But if it starts to kind of drift as you're walking, then you're not balanced. Even though the camera can sit this way, you think that it's all balanced out and it's all level and you're ready to fly, you could still be extremely bottom heavy. So I'm going to show you what happens. This is going to be an extreme case of being overly bottom heavy. There you go. Looks like it's set up, right? Like the top is all balanced and it looks like you have everything all good. But the moment you start to move your stabilizer, see how weird it gets? That's because the weight, this is way too bottom heavy. Most of the time you guys are going to run into this, your stabilizer being bottom heavy. So as you're running around, it's going to want to like move and bob and wave. All you got to do, this is the most important thing. I stress this all the time, but I don't know why anybody doesn't follow it. Millimeters. Well, in my case, I got to drop it all the way down because I brought it all the way up. But if you're getting any movement in your stabilizer as you're walking, any little movement at all, play with the sled. Drop it up or down, just millimeters, and see what changes that makes. So here, it's actually more top heavy now because I brought this down too far. Let me see. It's possible my camera's shifted a little bit. I'm going to move it to the right. Okay, better. So again, if you guys are walking around with your Flycam or Glidecam or Steadicam and you're getting that bobbing, just, I mean, it can just rock ever so slightly, then you're off balance. And move the sled up and down just millimeters at a time and see what effects that will do. But eventually, you'll get it to the point where it doesn't rock and it'll just be steady the entire time. Now when I fly it, I always use my left hand, just placing a few fingers underneath the gimbal here to keep it from drifting around. So I do use my thumb and my two fingers here, and I place it slightly under the gimbal so I can prevent it from drifting, and I can also control the pans as I walk around as well. So that's it. Again, most important thing is start out with this locked halfway down the post. Gives you a little bit of lateral up and down to change the bottom weight ratio. Get the camera set up on the stage here, but when you got things slightly balanced, if you are getting any type of rocking motion, it's normally because you guys are too bottom heavy. Bring the sled higher up, just millimeters at a time, and then try again. And if it's still slightly rocking, bring it a few more millimeters up and just keep trying that. So that's it. I mean, I've seen a lot of your videos out there and you guys are very close, but I do notice as you move, it starts to kind of sway a little bit. Again, it's all about the bottom weight. So millimeters at a time, bring it higher and higher, and that'll reduce the bottom weight ratio right there. So hopefully that gives you guys a decent idea of how I balance any of my stuff. Probably not as good as the other tutorials out there, so you might want to check that out online, YouTube or Vimeo.